Hi everybody, I'm Emily Marshall and I'm one of the JPC team members for this project, Women's Agribusiness Education to Increase Food Security in Ngongongare, Tanzania.
And I'm Porter Neenan. I'm a second year and I was one of the team members last summer.
And I'm Cameron. I'm also a second year and I was also on the team.
Our fourth team member, Ellen Chapin, unfortunately can't be here today, but we do have our graduate mentor, Carolyn Pelnick, a second year MPP in the Baton School of Public Policy with us here today.
So to give you a little overview, we decided we wanted to bring a little piece of our project home to you guys. So we structured our presentation using one of the techniques that we used in the classroom in Tanzania. And so our project centered around a 4-week agribusiness education course where we frequently used metaphors and activities and all sorts of different things to help the women understand business concepts. And one of the things we use the most often, and is my personal favorite, is the problem tree, where students are invited to think of a problem, the trunk of a tree, and then analyze it in terms of its causes, which are the roots of the tree, and then its symptoms and outcomes, which are the branches and leaves of the tree. And so just similar to that, we're going to present our project as the trunk of the tree and look at the roots and branches to give you a better picture of what went into and came out of our time in Tanzania. So that's sort of a conceptual overview of our presentation.
So starting off, let's look at the roots, which are the causes and the real issues which we wanted to attempt to address throughout the project. In Tanzania, food insecurity is endemic, with the rural poverty rate hovering around 50% and 45% of children suffering from stunting in growth due to malnutrition. Furthermore, about 70% of Tanzanians receive their primary source of income through agriculture. So because of this, we want to create an agribusiness curriculum and implement it to really get at those issues. Furthermore, these figures are important because one thing that studies have shown is that physical and psychological violence in households are very closely tied to food security. And so our project also had a parallel interest in decreasing gender violence in homes through increasing food security.
Yeah, and so to achieve those ends, we were lucky enough to find a great community partner, the Jifundishe Free Library, which means to teach yourself in Swahili. And Jifundishe originated in 2004 for secondary school students, but we partnered with one specific program, Ukuaji. And so Ukuaji is a program that gives microloans to women in the area around the Jifundishe Library. And those women primarily operate small agriculture-based businesses. And so Jifundishe affectionately refers to those beneficiaries as the Ukuaji women. And our project originated when the Ukuaji women expressed a need for more educational resources on business and agriculture practices.
So the goal of our project was really to try to meet that need. And one of the big questions that we had was whether an agriculture education in tandem with a women's business curriculum would be more effective than just an agriculture education in itself. So we had some short-term and long-term goals. Some of the short-term goals were creating a community learning garden, implementing a 4-week-long learning curriculum, as well as conducting monitoring and evaluation throughout. And some of our long-term goals were reducing gender violence, increasing food security, and better understanding the connection between poverty and education in this area.
So to better help you understand what the goals of our project were, you can understand our project in 3 different phases: curriculum and development planning, instruction, and monitoring and evaluation. Each of these phases is equally important, and we kind of think they bring the branches of our tree to life. So our primary goal in the first phase was to develop an agribusiness education curriculum. So we reached out to our community partner back in Tanzania and had them lead a series of focus groups with 30 of these Ukuaji women. And these focus groups produced a list of topics that these women were interested in learning about. And so this was really helpful to us because it allowed us to tailor a curriculum that would answer these questions and help find solutions to their different problems. So then at this point, we reached out to 2 other NGOs, Global Grassroots and the World Vegetable Association, our center. And Global Grassroots has been teaching business to East African women since 2006. So they allowed us, they provided us with well-vetted techniques that were very regionally specific and specific to women. Then we reached out to the World Vegetable Center, which was really nice because it was 1 hour outside of Ngongongare, Tanzania, and it's a large research group that has a lot of materials and resources that we were able to partner with resources from the World Bank and from the Peace Corps in order to develop 20 individual modules that we adjusted throughout our course.
So once we'd created our content, our next step was to kind of think about our pedagogy and teaching methods. Because essentially we knew what we wanted to teach and what the women wanted to learn, and so we wanted to be sure we were teaching it in a way that the women would engage with and understand. So in working with Global Grassroots in a week-long Maymester course, we decided to teach through a participatory approach. And so using group work and activities and things like the problem tree, we made sure that the women could learn as much from each other as they did from any of us. And so in our business curriculum, we would hold roundtables and discussions on topics like profit, bookkeeping, marketing, and investment. And then in our agriculture curriculum, we decided to partner with an expert from the World Vegetable Center and have experiential lessons in our teaching garden as often as possible. And those were really fun, and the women would be composting and learning drip irrigation. And so that was a really experiential way for the women to learn new ag practices like pest and disease prevention, seeding, drip irrigation, and a number of other modules. And so throughout both of those, we used knowledge assessment quizzes to make sure that our students were actually learning. And so for particularly important modules, students would take both a pre- and a post-assessment quiz to track A, knowledge retention, and B, improvement over time, to make sure that we were on the same page as our students.
So for the third phase of our project, monitoring and evaluation, we adapted a World Bank survey which focused on 7 key aspects of business, agriculture, and standards of living. In the first week of our project, we met with our community partners and tried to adapt this survey further for the specific community that we were working with, and ended up with a 78-question survey. However, in these discussions, a concern also came up from our community partners, sort of in an ethical regard, that the random assignment classes, which we were planning on doing, were too restrictive for the women participating in the program. So because of this, we ended up adapting and pivoting our study a bit to a system where we had a control group of 40 women who we then paired through a matched pairs study with the women who participated in the program. And so throughout all of this, we continued contact with our faculty advisor, Christine Mahoney, to ensure that we were maintaining the best academic results for our project and that we were asking questions which would get us meaningful results in the end.
Yep. So though we did have to pivot away from random assignment to a matched pairs study, which did decrease the statistical rigor of our research a little bit, we still did come away with a valuable deliverable to our community partner, which was baseline data. And so our surveys collected reliable and comprehensive data on each of the 7 metrics that we wanted to, which were agricultural knowledge, business knowledge, agricultural output, business profit, individual income, standard of living, and personal empowerment. And so because our survey operated in ways that were closed-ended, it made our data analysis fairly straightforward and easily shared with our community partner. And so even though we won't know the exact effect of our intervention until the follow-up data is analyzed after this summer, it is still a valuable stepping stone for GIF and DSHE's programs to have baseline data because it's relatively rare for a small NGO to have any baseline data at all, let alone a control group. So even at this intermediary phase, our data does serve a purpose for GIF and DSHE.
Other key outcomes of our project were transfer of knowledge and teaching capacities, and at the end of our time in the field, we had several things to show for our project. A 4-week successful course, a 72-page book of notes that were available both in Swahili and English for women, and also a fully functioning teaching garden. And because we left all of our course materials behind at the library, and because the library staff attended every single one of our modules, our project was completely replicable, and we also had enough project funds to sustain our teaching garden for at least another 3 years, which is really awesome.
Yeah. So following our field work with the library, we've maintained a positive relationship, and we're conducting the wrap-up data collection this upcoming summer in June or July. Furthermore, we were also able to create some pilot programs at the end of our project, which will be implemented through another JPC grant in Rwanda and Uganda this upcoming summer.
So, in conclusion, we'd like to thank a number of people that were really invaluable to our work this summer. First and foremost, the JPC program made our project possible and helped us refine and implement our finished product. And then our fabulous graduate mentor, Carolyn, and our partner through the Davis Projects for Peace, Lacey Williams, lent their time and expertise to making the project a success. And our faculty advisor, Christine Mahoney, was really, really helpful in defining the scope of the project. And finally, our partners and friends at the Jifandishe Library, Deb, Ellie, Sudi, Oscar, and Muna, were truly, truly linchpins in the field, and we couldn't have done anything without them. So thank you all for listening, and thank everyone for the opportunity.